there's another group of people that absolutely love this idea and can't wait to be a part of it. And it's the Republicans who don't like Trump, whose primary job is to be political consultants. And what they're going to see right now is a guy that is willing to dump Bloomberg amounts of money into a failed project where they are going to build, forget getting their second home. They're going to get their third vacation home, second and third vacation home, off of telling Elon Musk, this is a wonderful idea. And everybody wants this because everybody's sick of the uniparty. And a bunch of consultants that could not care less about Elon Musk's objectives are going to pump him up to get as much money as they possibly can, building up whatever apparatus they need to justify getting a paycheck. And I promise you, I promise you that the number one beneficiary of Elon Musk's efforts here will be disaffected Republican consultants.
The political consulting complex is going to sink their teeth into the, if he goes through with it.
It's a massive grift. Like it is
the
such
actual
a
grifters.
massive grift.
And by the way, these people lose election after election after election because
and
in
they
large
don't
part,
care as long as they get the paycheck.
they don't have any substance either. For them, it's all about process, different process, right? You know, process of how to go through the motions of running and then losing an election.
I'm going to send out a bunch of glossy mailers and run it through my mail
We're
shop.
going to do a bunch of TV ads because the consultants get paid more in TV ads than if you organize door knocking. Consultants don't get paid to do door knocking.
No.
They get paid to run glossy TV ads and glossy mailers, right? And they're not good at messaging because they have no idea what the average voter actually cares about or is in touch with. These are the same people that still think that we need to go back to the good old days of the Mitt Romney, Jeb Bush wing of the Republican Party, back when we lost election after election after election. But I mean, these guys who all live in, I'll use a more Virginia-based analogy because we live here. These are all like the Richmond Henrico guys, right? Like they're in a former Republican stronghold that is zoomed to the left that have no idea what time it is. They're stuck in 2007 in terms of their framework for how politics is. The train is just totally passed them by. Mm-hmm. And all that they're thinking about is, how do I get a giant fat paycheck from the world's richest man? And they will come up to him and they will pitch him some brilliant slide deck about how they're going to bring back the Ross Perot coalition or something like that. And they're going to achieve nothing except deliver Congress to the Democrats and make themselves rich in the process. Yeah. And then we'll get a return to wokeism, which Elon hates, and we'll get accelerated government spending towards financial collapse, which Elon also hates. And a small cabal of people will get super rich in the process, and Elon will have achieved nothing except to make his bank account slightly smaller and brought back the nightmare of wokeism and an accelerated bankruptcy of America.
And everybody that has very recently been very supportive of Elon will basically associate him with that decline. They'll be like, at the moment where we thought we were getting something done, you stepped in to destroy it in the midterms. Because the other thing Elon will think he can do right now is once he has it, he will think he can control it. He will think that the members that he does get elected, if that even happens, right? He will think, well, now they will answer to Elon.
No, they will answer to their
They will answer to their constituents. Because here's the other thing people that typically don't understand about campaign finance reform. They think what happens is companies come in and they buy a politician. No, a politician generally thinks a certain way, votes a certain way, and then interests come in and support the people that are already voting that way. And so this idea that Elon's going to be able to just control these guys, first of all, that plays against his entire narrative. So this is one of those things where I go back to where it's like, it's not that I don't agree with some of the problems that Elon Musk has brought up. It's not that I don't think that we have massive problems with respect to what's called the uniparty. It's that the way he's organizing what he wants to set up and the people that will flock to it, right, are not going to get him the changes that he wants. In fact, it could be the very opposite, because we have historical example after historical example of typically every time this happens, when you have a third party come in, that third party generally only polls from one side of the political spectrum.
And there's
right?
multiple examples in history. The Populist Party in the 1880s and 90s.
When the Bull Moose, when Teddy Roosevelt decided, did his one term after McKinley, then he did his full term. Then he backed William Howard Taft. He didn't think Taft was progressive enough, so he started the Bull Moose Party. He actually outperformed Taft, but it didn't matter because the Democrats all stuck together. All he did was fracture the right. And then Woodrow Wilson came in. You want to talk about one of the worst presidents of all of American history. It's arguably, in my opinion, Woodrow Wilson, right? That's what was ushered in as a result of that. You had the same thing with the Dixiecrats in the 1960s that cost Hubert Humphrey the presidential election in 1968 against I don't think I necessarily mind that one as
Richard
much.
Nixon. But I'm just bringing up examples of third parties fracturing.
Yeah. You saw this in multiple elections where, again, the third party, this mystical, 50% of the country is in the middle, never materializes in the actual election. Never. And so what it is people are listening to what people say, but then when they show up to the ballot box, they do something different. And if you're not willing to, and again, Elon, if you're not willing to take into account that data when you're making these decisions, well, then don't be surprised when the result that you wanted doesn't materialize and you get something worse. Because as we've said before, what is your base? Such a third party's base is calculated to be just 4%. That's voters who like Musk and dislike the GOP. I'm sorry, man.
And there's a lot of people that dislike the GOP. They're called Democrats.
Yes.
So he's there. 4% of the public.
Who are the Democrats that love you so much that they're going to leave the Democratic Party to vote for Elon Musk? The answer is no. It's not going to happen. At best, what you will get is libertarians who are generally willing to vote third party or vote Republican. You're going to get some disaffected Republicans that are just mad at the whole process. You might get like some Tucker Carlsons or Candace Owens of the worlds. But in the end, that is enough to swing it in favor of Democrats. It's not enough to actually achieve what you claim to want. And I'm not someone sitting here defending the Republican Party no matter what. But I think you get a better job if you actually try to work to get people within the Republican Party as part of a caucus that will stand strong for certain things. That has worked before. Not to the degree we would have liked, but it has worked before. Whitfield, question, what are the similarities to the attempt to bringing back of the Whig Party in the 1800s? I mean, I think we can find probably more like relevant examples just with like Ross Perot and the Reform Party. That's probably the most relevant, up-to-date example is Ross Perot came in. He did the best of any third party, I think, since Bull Moose. Because Bull Moose got like 27%.
No,
of the vote.
Again, like the Dixiecrats in '68 won a bunch of southern states, but not enough to.
They won like 6.
They won like Georgia.
So he did the
Alabama.
best since the Dixiecrats.
Yeah.
He did the best since the Dixiecrats in the Reform Party. He didn't. I don't think Perot won any states, but they threw the numbers off enough. No,
Perot he won a couple of counties in places like Maine, but
well,
he didn't win any
forget
states.
Perot tried to win again. Perot tried to run again when it was Bob Dole versus,
and he did much worse.
He did much worse. But if you look at the numbers by which Clinton won by, it's you could still make an argument that he potentially. Now I think Clinton probably won that one without Perot's.
Yeah, George Wallace got 13% in 1968, which is actually lower than Perot in 1992. But George Wallace's support was almost entirely in the South, and so he won Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia.
Yeah.